Okay, so I'm looking at my personal Valken Tango vest, and I've discovered some things that I haven't there's a problem with. Um, well, I'll just briefly go through them. If you look closely here, there's a line that is olive drab, and then there's a tan. This is my stitching right here. I did use my yeah. I have skills. Okay, this is what it should be like. This is the exact center of the vest. The way they've done this, everything's offset by about 3/4 of an inch. I thought it was a half an inch, but it turns out it's about 3/4 of an inch between that center point and the next thing, and the stitching that came with it. This causes a couple of problems because all of their pouches come in twos. They're not set up in threes and fives and sevens and nines. They're set up in 2, 4, 6, 8, 2, 4, and 6 widths. This one is actually a sixth width, but you can see here they've actually got. You're looking at the webbing. The webbing is only an inch, and they put in these points at this one's at over an inch and a half. That one's under an inch and a half. You get the idea here. That one's like close to an inch and a half, just a little bit over. The spacing on these is supposed to be, it should be an inch, and it's not quite an inch. This one here, that's like a half an inch. I'm sorry, Vulcan, that's not how you do gear. You can't expect people to buy this the way that is. It's not functional, and I mean this one, this is the outside of the vest of the pouch, and you've got an inch and an eighth there. And while that could be feasible, an inch and an eighth is actually what things should be at. Okay, so I've got this pouch here. This is my Vulcan vertical tank pouch. I've flipped it over here, and I've done some new seams. These are seamed at an inch and an eighth. To show you that, 1 1/8 inch, and this is very, very snug. I mean, we're talking, this is perfect. And I'm going to redo my entire vest this way. I am not going to keep it the stock method. I'm going to redo the whole thing. And in the process of redoing the whole thing, I have two options because of how they built the vest. Inside the vest is a hydration pack pouch. And I have two options. I can either say screw it and go ahead and just destroy it. There's also a slot here for their Molly harness pack so that you can make it tighter on you. Basically I have two options. I can either just sew across this, which I started to do, and you can see where those lines are. But as you get closer down here, they're not set up appropriately. So basically, the only gear that will work on this is Vulcan gear because it doesn't have the proper spacing. The spacing should be 1/8 of an inch by 1/8 of an inch by 1/8 of an inch. It should never get closer than 1/8 of an inch. Otherwise, you're not going to get any sort of anything through there. Because I had a back order happen, we used a special ops paintball system stuff. This is from the old days when they were shipping stuff out to China, and yeah, it's set up at 1.5 inches. I don't know if they do this anymore. I can tell you that other companies, Full Clip doesn't do this. Full Clip is a manufacturer of materials that are meant for the military. And this is actually set up in a Molly fashion where you literally you're going to basket weave this in there, and it does not quite fit in here. Once you get this in here, I mean, it just barely makes it. So consistency is real big, and quality control needs to be saying, if you're not consistent, we're finding somebody else. I realize this is made in China, and I realize that's how you're keeping your costs down, but Full Clip is all made in USA, and sorry, they're doing the same stuff for the same pricing, and this is disappointing. I'd like to see Valken change their design. The back is incredibly important, because if you're working with balance, you need to have things balanced out. And quite frankly, I don't want my tank, which I run with a 62 cubic inch tank most of the time, I don't want my tank off balance, because if my pod pack, that brings me to another thing. My pod pack, the way this is set up, my pod pack, this is a set, basically holds 7 pods. It's a 4+3, and I played Super Game 41. Yeah, Super Game 41, and I did not ever have more than 5 in here. And you're gonna love this, but paint gets used, and this right here, this needs to be able to maintain balance. And I was unable to do that because I had to offset my tank. Okay, now we get into what's going on with it. If I pull these things out here, I'm not going to try to do this one-handed. But if I pull these things out here, you can see here that if I just stretch these things out, if I just stretch them out normal, they don't fit. So in order for this to work, you have to offset 2 like that, pull this one, outside one in, so it's actually, instead of spaced out like they've got it, it's not spaced out anymore. And then the last one comes out here and is spaced out, but it's right up against the weave. I'm going to correct the back of this. I'm going to leave the front alone for now. I have other issues with the front that I'm going to have to figure out how to deal with. But this is just terrible. 1 1/8 inch. I mean, you need to be able to fit the same webbing. If I bump that up against there, it overlaps. You need to fit that same webbing in there. You need to have consistent. It's not consistent. This is an ingenious thing, but if it doesn't work because this doesn't work, it's worthless. The best option is to go with a standard MOLLE system so that it can be used on everyone else's vests. This is not going to work on everyone else's vests. It's really cool. It's great. But unless you because it's got a stiffener in it, unless you form this to your body, these outside ones do not attach correctly. The inside ones are fine, but these outside ones need to be regular MOLLE and not this Velcro system. The Velcro system is great for everything else on the inside. This pouch here, this pouch should have these systems should work so that there are an odd number. If this uses 4, this should have 5. Or the other way around. But it's not stable. These pouches are not stable the way they are. They flop around. When you're trying to be quiet and you're trying to run, you can't do that. Let's be realistic. That becomes a problem. We'll give Valken a chance to talk about it at a later point in time.